Oh, hello. Welcome to today's video. We're going to be looking at the fact that Games Workshop have once again put out an FAQ without releasing an article to let everyone know that they've put out some FAQs. So consider this a public service. You know, these FAQs are out there. Two small little FAQs for not the two newest teams, the previously two newest teams, the Fellgor Ravagers and the Hearthkyn Salvagers. So let's have a look at exactly what has changed. So for the Fellgor Ravagers, so they've got an FAQ, or rather some errata, I should say correctly, for their Frenzy ability. So add the following. Your opponent treats a Fellgor Ravager operative as being incapacitated when it gains a Frenzy token for the following purposes. Scoring victory points from tac ops that require enemy operatives to be incapacitated. Gaining pain tokens, Hand of the Archon, and bloodied tokens, bloodied. Completing performances of allegories, Void Dancer Troop. So I think this is a really important FAQ. Certainly when I read through the Fellgor Ravagers rules, I didn't understand if various things would trigger, things that trigger when you incapacitate a model would trigger the sort of the first time you incapacitated a Fellgor Ravager when you sent it to Frenzy. Rules as written, they didn't, because they didn't get incapacitated, they instead became frenzied, and that seemed pretty unlikely to be the way it was supposed to be played. So now we've got clarification that that's not what Games Workshop had in mind as far as these abilities go. It's interesting to me that they've specifically called out Hand of the Archon, Bloodied and Void Dancer Troop, because it means that if they introduce future teams that have abilities that trigger when you incapacitate a model, they'll have to go back now and re-errata the Fellgor Ravagers to add that new team's ability to this list. They'll have to do that forever and ever and ever. So, I mean, are there any abilities other than those three? The generation of the pain tokens, the generation of the bloody tokens, and the and the generation of the allegory completions. Is there anything else you can think of that's currently in the game that's not on that list that you think should be? If you can think of something, let me know in the comments down below. But I do find it interesting that they are going to have to they're going to have to keep this list updated if they add anything like that to future kill teams. Some people have called this a nerf. I don't think it's correct to call it a nerf. I guess the ability is weaker from how it was written, if you followed rules as written. But I think it's really important as a matter of mindset that the FAQ and errata documents are supposed to be clarifications on where the rules as written don't effectively communicate the intent of the designers, right? And the balanced data slate, which we haven't had yet, is where the designers are changing the rules of the game based on feedback from the community. Like, they're two different documents that are supposed to do two different things. Now, I know that sometimes there are things that are presented in an FAQ errata document that look suspiciously like balance changes, but and this is what I meant by on the title slide, Games Workshop finally understood the assignment. I think all the way through here, like, this FAQ pass is very brief. It only touches the two newest teams. That doesn't mean that I think all the other teams are perfectly balanced, but it means that I think there are no more misunderstandings with how the rules are written for the other teams. So I think there'll be more changes to the game in the next balanced data slate whenever that comes, but I don't necessarily think we're going to get another round of FAQ erratas for all the historical teams, because FAQs and erratas are for correcting misunderstandings, not addressing balance issues. Okay? I wanted to save that round for the end, but you've had it now. And then we've got a minor FAQ for the Flux Bray. So the Flux Bray has his action, which I've reproduced on the slide here. Cleaver Flurry for 2 AP. Perform a free normal move action with this operative. For that action, it can move an additional circle and can move within engagement range of enemy operatives, but cannot finish that move there. Each enemy operative that it moves in engagement range of suffers D3+1 mortal wounds. Rolls separately for each. The operative can't perform the action if it has a conceal order. And the question that was asked frequently was, can the Flux Bray operative perform the Cleaver Flurry action while within engagement range of an enemy operative? So if it begins in engagement range, can it use the Cleave Flurry to kind of fall back while dealing some damage, which would be very powerful, because normally you pay 2 AP just for the privilege of falling back? And so sensibly the answer is no. Whilst it can move within engagement range during the action, it cannot start the action there as per requirements of the normal move action. Good. So that's all they've changed for the Fellgor's Ravagers. Let's get on to the Hearthkyn Salvagers, Squats, Leagues of Votann, Dwarves, whatever you prefer to call them, okay? They have no erratum, but a set of questions and answers. So the first couple here deal with the Lugger. For the Lugger Operative's re-equip action, and remember this is the action that allows you to swap the loadout on one of your models to one of the other loadouts that it could have. When reselecting weapon options, what are the restrictions? Select as if you were in the select a kill team step of the mission sequence. For a gunner operative, you can't select a weapon that you've already selected for the battle, even if that gunner operative that had it has been incapacitated. So this is another real genuine question. This was actually a conversation. I was up north a couple of days ago on a brief holiday, and I was speaking to Oro from the Discord about what his take was on the Lugger rules, because we'd seen it debated, and we both kind of came to the conclusion that you cannot use a Lugger to, say, field 2 plasma beam guns or 2 missile launchers at once. So you cannot take a plasma beam gun and then immediately use your Lugger to change another gunner to a second plasma beam gun, which is right, we were correct about that, but it wasn't clear, and we were erring on the side of that it probably would be fine to use your Lugger to change another gunner to have a plasma beam gun after your original plasma beam gun had been killed. Now, you can't do that. So the Lugger is even worse than we thought in terms of its usefulness. So I'd be quite interested to learn in the comments whether the Lugger is still a model that you'd take. It's beginning to feel a lot like, one of these models that you take to get the 5 extra equipment points, and then in game it's a little bit of dead weight, right? Because its actual in-game ability just seems quite pointless at this point. Not sure. I'd love your opinions about that, okay? We've also got a question here, also about the Lugger. If the friendly Hearthkyn Salvager operative had the auto-calibrator equipment on their original weapon, what happens to it? They no longer have the equipment, even if they return to their original weapon in a subsequent re-equip action. So I would never have guessed that the equipment would be effectively destroyed. That seems a little bit strange to me, but that's the answer that they're going with. So again, I just think makes the Lugger, certainly it makes the Lugger's re-equip action lose any vestige of seeming appealing that it might have had. And then we've got some useful clarifications about the beam weapons. Now, I'm pretty sure, I've never played with or against the Hearthkyn Salvagers. I'm pretty sure this is the way I would have played it previously from just what we had in the rules. Let's read through them anyway. For the gunner operative's beam critical hit rule, when determining operatives along the beam line, is it operatives before the original target, after, or both? Both, see the diagram below. So you can target an operative and then hit operatives that are otherwise along the line, that's fine. Are mortal wounds inflicted on the original target? No. And when inflicting the mortal wounds, do you roll a d3 for each separately? Yes. Seems straightforward to me. And that's really it. So it was a short little video today. I almost didn't make a video. You could argue that there's not enough here to make a video on. But I do know previously people have said, even when I've been very late to things, people have said, oh, you're my first watch, you're my first click. I didn't know, this is news to me. So, just out of curiosity, if this is news to you, if you hadn't seen it on the GW website or on Discords or on other YouTube channels, if this is the first you're hearing about these new FAQs, let me know in the comments. Always nice to see. I'm really pleased that GW, as I had a little rant about this in the middle of the video, I'm really pleased that GW finally seem to understand what FAQs and erratas are for. They do appear to be genuine clarifications to aid your understanding of the designer's intent, okay, rather than material changes to what the designer originally plans to release, which is what we're waiting for in the balanced data slate, okay? Looking to the future, Ashes of Faith has arrived and hobbying has begun, so you can expect some Ashes of Faith content very, very soon. Probably at the weekend, unless it gets bumped for, if we get any kill team news at the weekend, which I have a mighty doubt. Like, we all know that the Sunday preview is going to be 40k 10th edition, but you never know. They might sneak out something for Kill Team in the meantime. If you've enjoyed the video, please do consider subscribing. Really very helpful, okay? Joining the Discord is awesome, and you can participate in the Inquisition Hobby Challenge. Leave a lovely comment. I love reading and replying to your comments, that sort of thing. Alright guys, thank you. Hope you enjoyed the video. Cheerio. Have a great rest of your evening, morning, afternoon, lunchtime, whatever it is that you're doing. Bye-bye.